Well, welcome to, I believe it's pronounced Rzeszow, Poland. It's my first time here. That's my hotel back there. The airport's right there, and then even better, there's a train station that's further away, or right there actually. So this is my first time being here. I speak absolutely 0% Polish. I have no money. So we're gonna go try and head into town. First off, to answer your biggest question, yes, I got a haircut from the time I walked through the streets of Rzeszow to putting this video together. And if you remember, this is one of the stops on my trip around the world, so if you want to see that video, I'll go ahead and put the link in the description down below. The day before, I woke up in Stuttgart, Germany. Got on a commercial plane to Warsaw, and then I got another commercial plane to Rzeszow. I did have a plan for the day, but it didn't start till a little bit later, so I took my time with breakfast, made whatever instant coffee I had in the hotel room, and before heading out. I have a couple crew members. There's one who's going to be landing here in about half an hour, and they're staying at a different hotel, which is further in the city. So what my plan is, going to head over to the airport, and I'm going to go ahead and try and exchange some currency, get some local cash. So I did have a couple options as far as money, since I didn't know I was going to be coming here, so I didn't have time to do any exchanges at home. So first option, I have my credit card. Credit card, I only use it at work. I don't really use it at home. And I'm generally against credit cards, but internationally it's accepted a little bit better. I do have my debit card from my bank, and what I did with there is I moved money out of that checking account. So I only have a couple $100s in there, and that's kind of, if it gets lost or stolen, then they're only going to be able to take a little bit. And last but not least, if none of those work, I'm going to go ahead and try and exchange some cash. So I will have some cash if I need to. That I usually try and save as a last resort, because if my card's not working, hopefully cash speaks. And that'll hopefully get me through the day where it is I'm trying to go. So as far as exchanging currency at an airport, I don't know what it's like here in different countries, but I know in the States, if you go to the airport currency exchange and you try and switch out money, if you show your crew ID, or better yet, you're in uniform and you show your crew ID, they usually waive any exchange fees that there are. Otherwise, you're going to get hit with some pretty good exchange fees, unless you go to your bank or something and get some money out that way. But life hack for all you crew members out there: if you need to exchange currency, go to, at least as far as I know, a domestic airport, show your crew ID, and you'll be able to get waived those fees. Over here, I don't know if I'll be that lucky, but we'll see. I found my crew member, and we shared a taxi to his hotel, which was further in town than mine was. He had been up all night from the flight over, so he was going to go to bed as soon as he got to his hotel. His hotel was connected to a big shopping mall, so I decided to make a lap or two there first. Alright, so we're a little bit further downtown. There's the Millennial Mall back there. It's a mall. I mean, there wasn't really anything that I was really interested in. I can find malls back home. But the guy that I rode in with, he told me it had this direction. There's more, it's like the market square, there's more older buildings. And you can see off in the distance there, starting to see some old buildings. So we're going to go and head that way. It's about a mile. Following my crew member's suggestion, I headed toward Market Square, an older part of town. He said once I started seeing cobblestone streets, I would know that I'm close. Being the middle of the day, the middle of the week, in the middle of October, the square was fairly empty, but local bars and restaurants were definitely prepared for much larger crowds. Following what little crowd there was, I began wandering amongst the older buildings, clumsily identifying their function by what little English was printed on them. If a certain building piqued my curiosity, I would take time to look it up. Some of the museums, or this old castle, now the seat of the district court, was already closed to the public for the day, so unfortunately, I wasn't able to go inside. After wandering in and out of a few shops, I started wondering what to do next when I spotted a street sign that caught my eye. If you didn't know, signs like this that are brown are usually indicators of historic landmarks. It had names of places in both English and Polish. One title had me curious was the Rzeszow cellars. Google Maps told me it was back at the market square, so that's where I went. Locating the entrance took some doing because nothing was in English, so I opened Google Translate and pointed it at what I thought was the entrance. Inside, I learned it was a self-guided tour of the underground cellars that ran underneath a section of the city, and I bought a ticket. I had about 20 minutes till my time slot, so I went and bought a snack from a nearby pastry shop. Back underground, the attendant gave my group of, I'm assuming Americans based on their accents, a brief introduction on what to expect in the cellars, in English thankfully. Then we were off on our own. As we descended into the darkness, there were plaques scattered throughout the tunnels talking about the various history and uses of the tunnels. Uses ranging from storage, lodging, prisons, to shelters during warring times, and hideouts for Jews during the Nazi invasion. The cellars traveled about the length of a football field, and its deepest point being more than 30 feet underground.
I started this tour with a couple other people, but they took off way ahead of me, so they were somewhere in here. Otherwise, I'm alone. Oh, snap. Please tell me that was supposed to happen. Okay. That was kind of scary. That's like how horror stories start.
Unfortunately, not all the plaques had an English translation, so many times I was left wondering what they were talking about, and I would have to look it up later.
Can't read it, so. Here's something I didn't expect to see on a cellar tour. Airplanes and jet engines. And apparently, the history of aviation in Rzeszow is, long story short, it's now a Pratt & Whitney plant. And Pratt & Whitneys are the engines that we have on some of our planes. So, did not expect to see that on a cellar tour, but I guess it plays a part because back this way they talk about, what things that they stored down here, and a little bit about oil. I'm still not quite making a connection.
At the end of the tour, we were spat out the backside of some random building a few hundred yards away from the starting point. At this point, it was after 5 p.m., and I had one more spot I wanted to go before calling it a day: the Monument to the Revolutionary Act. I wasn't able to read the plaques that were around the monument, so I did have to look it up later, but that's when things got interesting. But first we have to go back, like a few hundred years back. Going through a prosperous golden era as the country developed, conflict with Russia, Prussia, and Austria once had Poland torn apart by invading it from 3 sides. And starting in 1795, for more than a century, despite many attempts at uprising, Poland ceased to exist. It was during this time more than 3 million Poles immigrated to the United States. Although this number is debated since at the time Poland didn't exist, and immigrants were registered as either German, Russian, or Austrian. In 1897, one of those immigrants was named Ignatius Bazarnicki, and he sailed across the Atlantic Ocean and passed the fairly newly built Statue of Liberty. As he immigrated to the United States, he met and married a woman named Agnes, To help assimilate to the American culture, he changed his name from Ignatius Bazarnicki to Ignatz Bazar. They had a son named Steve, they had a son named William, and he had a daughter named Elaine, who had a son named me. But enough about me. Let's get back to non-existent Poland. After the First World War, Poland was actually able to re-emerge and establish itself on the map once again. And after a brief period of hope, Poland was once again invaded by Nazi German forces, marking the beginning of World War II. After 5 years of German occupation, a revolution began. But this revolutionary action against Nazi Germany was just the beginning of where this monument came from. Now, this liberation came at the hands of the Soviet-Russian army, who managed to push Germany all the way back to Berlin and taking control of the previously free countries. And Poland was traded from one occupying army to another, one madman dictator for another. During its rule, PZPR built many monuments across Russian-controlled Europe behind the Iron Curtain, and in 1974, this monument was built. In 1989, after years of rebellious opposition to the Russian leaders, Poland was able to elect the first democratically elected president, and the communists lost 99 out of 100 seats from parliament. In recent years, countries all over Europe have sought the removal of such monuments, leaving only those marked as graves or memorials to the fallen. This movement has been amplified with the Russian invasion of Ukraine starting in 2022. A recent poll I found regarding this monument in Rzeszow was that people had mixed feelings about its removal. The older generation wanting it removed, their reasons being it's a relic to a time of oppression. The soldier on one side of the monument more closely resembles that of the Red Army rather than a Polish soldier, while the younger generation stating that it is an iconic symbol of the city, an artistic sculpture that should remain standing. Whatever your opinion on this particular monument, it's hard to miss, which is what drew me to it in the first place.
Well, my overall first impressions of Rzeszow is not bad. And there's some history to this city. There's a lot of places to eat. There's a few bars and stuff. It's the middle of the week. It's like the middle of the day in October, so things aren't exactly bustling right now, but I could definitely see that it's got potential.
Many months later.
Yep, I was right. It had some potential. As usual, if there's anything that you'd like to see or that you want to see in future videos, please feel free to leave that in the comment section down below. Until next time, my name is Ryan. Thanks for flying.